All in knowing how, is it? Well, watch this. Yes, something's wrong, all right. Last year it looked like Bob Troy had all the make half back. But this season it's a different story. Somehow he lacks his old drive. The brakes seem to be going against him, not only in football, but in almost everything. Take Al. She's noticed the difference in him, no question about that. Lately he hasn't been much fun to be with. And, well, Hap Andrews... That make the walk home kind of... There's Jimmy the boy. He's just kidding, but Bob's not having any, thank you. Just one thing after another. Yes, for these past few months it seemed like he couldn't win. Around the house, things weren't much better. It seemed to him that the family was always after him about being on time for meals and about what he ate or didn't eat. But the more they worried about him, the grouchier he got, and the less he was interested in any kind of food. He was just plain fed up, tired, and run out of pep. And the sad part was, he didn't know why. Luckily for Bob Troy, however, there were still a few people determined to help him get back his old pep and happiness. That same night, his parents had a chat with Mr. Farrell, the coach, who also taught biology. As they talked, an explanation appeared. The results of Bob's physical examination were fairly good, and the doctor had said there was nothing serious about his gradual slowing down. In fact, it happens too often, regardless of age. However, it usually can be corrected. Yes, corrected by two of the simplest, most enjoyable remedies known to man.
You bet I mean it, Bob. Sit down a moment. You start getting enough sleep and enough of the right foods, and mark my words, in a few months you'll be back in top shape.
But, Mr. Farrell, I get quite a bit of sleep, and I certainly eat all I want.
The point is, what do you eat, and how much rest do you get? Suppose we look at it this way. Last summer, when you worked out at the airport, you learned a lot about planes, didn't you? Well, your body is hundreds of times more complicated than any aircraft. Even the most perfectly tooled plane, factory-made, each part precision-engineered, will not fly very long unless it's given intelligent care and supplied with enough gas, oil, hydraulic fluid, and so forth. Without any of those, without skilled care, that plane is headed for serious trouble. Just as your body is headed for trouble if you don't give it the right combinations of food every day, as well as plenty of sleep. Suppose you tell me how much sleep you had yesterday, outside of class, I mean, and also exactly what you ate.
Well, as Bob thought back, he began to realize there was plenty of room for improvement. He'd had only 6 hours sleep, and often got less. Not enough by a long shot. No wonder he couldn't drag himself up mornings. And when he finally did, he had time for only a quick glass of fruit juice. His family, of course, got up in time to enjoy a good breakfast. But not him. He had to rush off to school, and then by 10:30 he kept checking his watch for lunchtime, getting more ravenous by the second. At last, when lunch came, he spent a good deal of money trying to satisfy his hunger. Again, had he eaten enough and included all the right foods? At dinner that night, he filled up on one or two things he liked best and left the rest of a good meal unfinished. Sure, he was too tired, too discouraged, but now he was beginning to understand why.
Bob, if your body were an airplane, careless treatment would put it on the scrap heap. But of course your body doesn't just quit. When you don't treat it right, it tries to keep going by making changes, gradual changes that affect your energy, your personality, and the way you feel. Now, you learned in biology that your body needs certain nutrients from food every day. Remember why? You need the mineral calcium for bones, for nerves, and for muscle action. Even for your heartbeat, because your heart is also muscle tissue. To give firmness to your muscles, you need protein. You need the mineral iron in red blood cells to carry oxygen from your lungs to your body cells. And you have to have vitamins. Vitamin A for vision, thiamine for steady nerves, vitamin C for healthy blood vessels and other tissue, riboflavin and other nutrients to help your body grow, maintain itself, and use food properly. Now, you know all this, Bob, but you've been forgetting that you need a sufficient variety of foods to give you basic net amounts every day, and along with them, the necessary calories to give you energy for work and sports, energy for fun, and for just being and feeling alive. Looks as if you've been missing a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does, Mr. Farrell.
All right. Now, this is just a suggestion, but I've got an idea as to how you can do something about it. In the biology course, we're working on a project that may mean a lot.
Well, Farrell was a sly old fox at that. What had he done but suggest Bob help Alice with an idea she had for her nutrition project in biology? Not that Alice needed help, really. She'd already noticed what a difference proper rest and good eating made in her pep and personality. That was the beginning. Bob was good at charts, and they worked one out together. They based it on the foods he needed each day and the reasons behind these needs. The chart would fit Alice, too, providing she ate a little less than Bob of each of the different kinds of foods. They listed the nutrients, as Mr. Farrell had done: calcium, protein, iron, different vitamins. Then they drew a goal line. It represented the recommended amounts of different nutrients their food should give them each day. For instance, meat, fish, or poultry, or alternates, 2 servings, and an egg would give them this fine base of nutrients. Notice the protein, iron, and vitamins. Then they added vegetables and fruits. 5 servings, long on the green, leafy, and yellow vegetables and on citrus fruits and tomatoes. Look at the buildup in vitamins, particularly A and C. Next, whole grain or enriched bread and cereal. At least 1 generous serving at each meal, adding some of many nutrients as well as energy. But even with all these foods, while they could see that they were coming closer to the goal, there were still big gaps. One more food group was needed: dairy food. For a boy Bob's age, the equivalent of 1 to 1 1/2 quarts of milk a day plus butter. Bob chose 4 glasses of milk, a serving of cheese and ice cream, and 3 pats of butter. Actually, these dairy foods put him over the goal line in nutrients. For milk and milk products supply most of the calcium and riboflavin, plus protein and other essential nutrients. No wonder milk and other dairy foods belong in every meal. Yes, cold milk, to drink at mealtime and in refrigerator raids. Milk in cooked foods. And butter, adding its flavor and food value to many foods. Cheese, to suit any taste. And ice cream, so good and so easy to serve in many ways. Yes, it's all in knowing how. And as Bob helped Alice assemble the chart, he saw how easy and pleasant it is to eat intelligently. And the interesting part was that while he could make the goal in nutrients if he ate these kinds and amounts of foods, he still needed more food for energy. This meant he could go back for seconds, or add other favorite foods to fill that energy need.
Gee, that looks all right, doesn't it? Now, you mean if I eat all of that, I won't get out of shape?
Well, not if you don't overdo it. Eating the right foods doesn't make anybody fat. And it won't cheat us of our snacks, either. Look at me. Look at Tom Andrews.
I'd rather look at you.
The more Bob began to look around him, the more he realized how much he'd been missing lately. He saw, for instance, why his parents got up in time for a good breakfast together.
I used to cut my sleep short, and I'd have to eat breakfast on the run the way you've been doing. Well, it mainly caught up. If I hadn't started getting more sleep and eating correctly, I might have lost my job. Believe me, Bob, taking care of yourself really pays off.
And Bob didn't have to be told either, because he could see a lot of things now. Really envied were the ones who took care of themselves. They were the ones having fun, getting enjoyment out of good eating and the friendly companionship shared over food. And once Bob realized what he'd been missing, he made up his mind to do something about it. No miracles, and the change didn't happen overnight either. But gradually as time passed, Bob had new pep and a new attitude at home and everywhere. Now that he'd given his body a break, it was beginning to pay him back in energy, stamina, and steady nerves, in personality and looks. And best of all, he was having a good time again. Fun with Alice, fun with his friends, fun with his family. By springtime, he was looking ahead with a wonderful kind of confidence that would carry him on through school and into aviation or whatever career he sought. Because Bob Troy was back in shape again and ready to roll. Yes, like the man had once said, it's all in knowing how.